What is going on, everybody? SeanPierceJohnson here with this week's episode of Stompbox Saturday, and I am very excited to show you another little surprise Christmas gift that I received from my good friends at Chase Bliss Audio in the form of the brand new Warped Vinyl HiFi. This one totally came out of nowhere. I was not expecting Chase Bliss to be releasing another new pedal. Of course, we looked at the brothers early on this season, and when the Warped Vinyl HiFi was announced, I was pretty stoked. As many of you who have seen pictures of my most recent pedalboard know, or maybe within the last, 2 years or so, I've been using the Warped Vinyl pretty much since I got it. It's been my main chorus pedal, and I love it. It's one of my favorites, and it's so flexible and so full of cool sounds. But this new version really piqued my interest. The hi-fi thing. I tend to like my choruses a little bit more leaning on the lush, bright side of things, something that I can get a little bit of sparkle out of. And well, that's kind of what the Warped Vinyl HiFi is doing, really getting at that lush, hi-fi chorusing sound. So let's go ahead, put the pedal up on the screen, and we'll take a look at it. Now, at face value, it looks just like every other Chase Bliss pedal. You have 6 knobs, you have three-way toggle switches, 2 foot switches, and then you have your preset toggle down at the bottom. Now, there's a couple different changes that have gone into this circuit that make it the hi-fi and make it different than the Mark II, which we looked at, and I think that was last season, or was it? Yeah, that was last season. Man, I've done so many of these, I'm starting to lose count of when I did what. Anyway, so immediately, the first thing you're going to see is that the volume control in the middle is gone, and it's been replaced with a lag control, which is very interesting. I've not played many chorus pedals with a lag control. Essentially, what the lag control is doing is it's controlling the latency between your original guitar signal and the affected signal. The idea is the more you turn it up, the more lush the chorus tone is supposed to be. We'll take a listen to it, and I'll let you guys be the judge, and you can decide for yourself if that's just snake oil or if that's the real deal. And then, of course, the biggest thing you're going to notice is in the sound, and that's in the tone control. Now, the original being an analog chorus, and this being an analog chorus, you're going to expect, that chewy kind of analog effect. But this new tone control is tailored with a little bit more high-end emphasis so that you can get that sparkly, articulate chorus sound. But you can just as easily get some nice dark chorusing tones out of it. Let's take a listen to how the tone control affects the overall chorusing tone, and then we'll take a look at the lag control. Now, of course, trusty Les Paul into the orange Rocker Verb 100's clean tone. I'm going to go ahead and go to the neck pickup for this, and we're just going to strum a chord. I'll turn it on, and I'll sweep that tone control so that we can see here, really, overall, what this new tone circuit is doing. Now you hear at its highest reach. As the audio goes through the pedal and then gets output, you're going to get a little bit of extra noise, but that's to be expected in really any analog effect. It's just a byproduct of the parts that were used, but it lends a nice little charm. And really in the thick band mix, you're really not going to hear that. And if it's objectionable, you can turn back the tone control until it's not there and you don't really notice it. Personally, I find when I'm playing with the band and when it's going into Pro Tools and going in a mix that I don't really hear it. So let's check out the lag control. Now I'm going to go ahead and start by turning that all the way down. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to strum a chord, and we're going to turn that knob first without the chorus on. You can sort of sense a new fullness to the chorusing tone. At least I can perceive that. I don't know about you guys and with YouTube's weird compression thing that they do. 50-50. And you could hear right there, as I swept the knob back to its 12 o'clock position, you could hear that delay time shift a little bit. So the higher up on the knob, at least what I'm hearing, is we're getting a little bit more meat, a little bit more beef out of it. It's a little wider, a little bigger, but it's not as tight. If you want a tighter chorusing sound, you're going to want to keep that lag control towards the first half of the knob's range. But I think it's really cool. It's definitely one of those things that is a new option so that you can really find the chorus sound that you're looking for. I kind of like it at the higher ranges for a more watery effect, but personally, for my taste, just leaving it in between 10 and 12 o'clock, that's like a magic area for me. Of course, those are the two things that have changed, so what stayed the same? Well, pretty much everything has stayed the same, nothing really too different. Of course, the ModuShape engine that allows you to shape the beginning and end of the chorusing waveform is still there, and it still sounds great. Personally, I love the slope on the beginning of the waveform and then the sine at the end of the waveform. But let's listen to a couple of those different waveforms and see what we can get out of it. Go ahead and turn up the depth for you guys so you can really hear it. All right, so in the center, the warp knob is going to give each half of the wave its just desserts. You know, none is more dominant than the other. You can kind of hear it, the up and then the down and the up and then the down and the up and then the down and then the up and then the down. It's like the Energizer Bunny just keeps going and going and going. Enough of that silliness. Let's get back to this pedal. All right, switching to slope and then slope. Which I think if we turned back the depth, turn up the lag a little bit. Cool. Get a little bit of Andy Summers. Of course, that was a flanger, not a chorus, but we're not going to split hairs here. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like it. But let's put a little bit more emphasis, make the beginning of the waveform quicker and make the end of the waveform a little slower. go the opposite direction now. Cool. Now, if you want to get really wacky, I recommend checking out the square waveform. See what I mean? Always a little bit more fun when the RPM knob is turned up a little bit. It almost has like a percussive quality to it. Sorry. It gets a little fun, makes you want to dance. Come on, it's like a drum beat. You don't even need a drummer because, let's face it, he's not going to show up to the gig with all the stuff he needs anyway. I'm sorry. I have a very fine drummer. He's a great guy. Anyway, so yeah, the square wave is where it gets really wacky, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So those are some of the new features and some of the things that have remained the same. It still sounds great. It's still got that great analog chewiness, but with a little bit of a different tone sweep to it. But now I'm going to show you guys my favorite settings that I've conjured up with the Warped Vinyl HiFi. So let's jump right in. This is a wacky little vibrato setting I call Windshield Wiper. I think you'll understand why when you hear it. I call this vibrato setting heebie-jeebies. Why? Because when you take a lead over this thing with some distortion, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. If you grew up in the 90s like me watching The Adventures of Pete and Pete, you remember the band and the show Polaris. And the one thing I always loved about the songs was that the guitar work had this really cool effect on it. Of course, years later, finding out that it was a chorus, it's like, how do I get that sound? Well, I think that this setting on the Warped Vinyl gets me pretty darn close to that sound. So here's Polaris. Here's a good chorus sound for all you Zakk Wylde fans out there. There you have it, my friends. That is the Warped Vinyl HiFi from Chase Bliss Audio. A great addition to their catalog of effects with a digital brain and an analog heart. I've always liked the Warped Vinyl from the moment I got it, so to have a new take on it and put it into a new sonic territory is very, very cool. I can't say whether or not I like this one over the Mark II because I just haven't had time to do a side-by-side comparison. I think that the new features are really cool, and I really like the new tone stack to it. Just a little bit more sparkle than your typical analog chorus. That's nice. I really like it. The lag control is very interesting to experiment with and provides a whole new world of chorus tones that I never really got into myself. But hey, I want to know what you guys thought. Shoot me a comment below with your thoughts on the Warped Vinyl HiFi, and let me know if you want to see that side-by-side comparison of the Mark II and the HiFi. And be sure you click that subscribe button when you see it so you don't miss the rest of the season of Stompbox Saturday. We've got a ton of great stuff coming up. Thanks so much for joining me this week, everyone, and until next time, I'm SeanPierceJohnson, and I wish you all great tone and happy stomping. Cheers.